I think the biggest impact of social media on journalism, in a way, has been to undermine the self-confidence of journalists. I think that journalists were used to, as it were, setting the news agenda. Out of the 1,000 things that happened in a day, they would decide what the one was that was important. And now, I think, because there's so much stuff out there, they have lost their confidence, and they tend to be followers now rather than leaders, which I personally don't think is a good thing.
It's hard to say what the biggest impact of social media is on journalism. I use Twitter, that's the one I'm talking about. It does a number of things. First of all, it finds you stories. It's also a publishing medium. I have nearly 65,000 followers, and they rely on me for quick information as it comes through. It also educates them, if you like, or informs them. It gives them links to other things I write, other things other people write. It gives them a press summary. So it does that for the audience, but it also helps me in my journalism because, as I said, it brings you stories. You look at things, you think, gosh, that's interesting. It also finds you people who are in a particular situation. When you've got a big number of followers, if you want somebody who's had problems paying tax on their child benefit and you tweet out for it, you will get a dozen people replying. So it brings things to you. The journalism itself remains the same, but Twitter enables you to reach wider and to reach quicker, a broader group of people, and instantly. It's even quicker than email because people are on there all the time.
I'm not wholly against social media. I think it has actually improved journalism or made journalism easier in one or two ways. Twitter, for example, works as a news feed, almost like a news agency, and so journalists get better informed more quickly, I think, on events. It makes it easier to track down people, if you want, as there were witnesses to an accident or whatever. So to that extent, it's made things easier. But I think there have also been negatives. I think it's undermined the way journalists should research and go about stories. And I think it's tended to make the whole business more superficial.
PR professionals will do their job, and their job is to exert influence on behalf of their clients and to place stories and to place products. And journalists have to be cautious of that, just as we are over the endless emails that come into our inboxes every morning, 90% of which get deleted immediately. But just occasionally, something interesting is there. And so, yes, PRs use it, and that has its value as well.
I do think that social media is used by PR and not always for, as well, honourable reasons. I think I'm surprised how easy it is to, as it were, manipulate social media, to put a presence out there. People tend not to worry about the provenance of stuff on social media as I think they should, and therefore it's possible to, as it were, lay false trails or certainly, without being too disparaging, create misleading impressions which people pick up because they don't know where they come from. I think social media has handed power to consumers, but it's the power of the mob, if you like, and it doesn't work in all cases. I mean, what one does obviously find is that it's possible to create a stir on social media for an individual's case to be picked up and become, you know, almost a global sensation in a way that didn't happen before. But this is still a relatively unusual occurrence, and I think that there's so much noise out there, it's still actually quite difficult for someone to be heard. I mean, it's not the broadcasting of the message that's the problem, it's getting someone to listen. And the fact that you can put your views out there on social media doesn't mean to say anybody's going to read them or take notice.
They can contact firms through their Twitter accounts, and if they've already copied in a financial journalist like me or some of my colleagues, then that gets a response. So yes, it gives consumers much more power to get information to and put complaints to commercial companies. If I had to describe social media, and particularly Twitter, in one word, it would be empowering.
One word to describe social media. Superficial, probably.